Hello, everybody. Dr. Alex Vasquez here, and today we have some important things to talk about and some important strategies to implement. Turning off my other phone. Obviously, this is going to go live, so I just don't need it picked up on my phone right now. So here's the deal. This past week, the World Health Organization made a major announcement on 5th of June, 2023, news release from the World Health Organization. I've got it right in front of me. I put it on the website earlier today, but right now I'm going to try to take a minute to talk about it, even though I'm a little bit stimulated from coffee, green tea, and now some chocolate. And we just got back from the store and we're doing a lot of different things. So this is totally spontaneous, but I want to make sure that I make a few points. If I feel the need to re-record this, then I'll do it in a more professional or calm manner or whatever. But I do want to say a few things. First of all, what came out this week from the World Health Organization is completely predictable and consistent with what I've already said, and that is this Plandemic bullshit is not over yet, and they have no intention of stopping it. So, for example, you'll notice, like I've said before, if you follow the different conversations I have on the blog or the website or whatever, healthythinking.substack.com, yeah, I talk about nutrition. I talk about health. I talk about fibromyalgia, pain, migraine headaches. I talk about a lot of different things. But I also talk about how to survive this global manipulation that's been taking place. And I talk about, how to take care of yourself and how to deal with life while you're dealing with this stuff, and of course all the complications that the rest of our lives have all the time. But we need to talk about this particular document. This is a very important document, and we have friends in Europe who are already living this out, and I want to make sure that I talk about that as well. So I want to talk about the document. I want to talk about what our friends are saying in Europe. I'll probably read the document. I realize that's a little bit pedantic and academic, but I'll at least read part of it. Let's say I read the first 3 paragraphs or 5 sentences or something like that. I mean, this is a horrible document. And like I said, I've already put it on the website as an image, and I put the hyperlinks to the original, and I also put a PDF copy. But this is a huge document in terms of its importance. The document itself isn't very large. It's only, a page, 815 words, 3 minutes of reading, according to what they say on their own website. So maybe I'll just read it. But this is going to change the way that we know life and the world. So we need to talk about options. So I'm going to talk about the document. I'm going to tell you what our friends are seeing on the ground in Europe. I'll talk about that first because that's short and easy. So I'll talk about our friends. I'll talk about the document, and then I'll talk about what I think you need to do to prep for this and a little bit of what we're doing. Our situation is a little bit different, of course, because we're accustomed to living internationally. So we can bounce, pretty quickly, and, we speak 2 languages. We've got we can go half the planet with no problem. I've got, residency and citizenship in different countries. So, we're pretty flex, but some of you are not. And now's the time to get flexible. So let's talk about these things in order. So our friends in Spain told my wife, either today or yesterday, but within this week, said that, for example, and these are just examples, and the whole conversation is just one example, but they have a kid, for example, who didn't have a cell phone. He didn't have a phone. Well, the school told him that in order to attend school, you have to have proof of vaccination. And in order to have proof of vaccination, you have to have a mobile phone. So the local government is giving, or the national government, I don't know which, but they are giving him a cell phone for the purpose of him being able to show his vaccine status. That's the vaccine passport that we escaped from. We left Europe last year, and this is why we left Europe. So she told us that in order to go to school, in order to go to public spaces, in order to use public facilities, such as a public library, they have to show the vaccine passport where they live, and they have to have it on a digital device. And they, even if they don't have a digital device, the government will give them a digital device so they can show their compliance. I think that's pretty horrible. I mean, come on. Look at the priorities in the world. People need education. They need jobs. Countries need infrastructure. No country needs to spend millions of dollars solely so they can track their citizens. And that's what's going on. Let's see if I want to say anything else about that. That's pretty much it. They're scared. They don't know what to do, but they don't have a lot of options. Even though they're in Europe, their financial situation and the fact that this particular friend of ours has 3 kids, she just doesn't have a lot of flexibility. So she says this is bullshit. And she's not even like a conspiracy. She's gone along with the whole thing. She has gone along with the whole Plandemic bullshit. She didn't care. She just thought, oh, well, they're trying to protect us. But now even she says this is bullshit. But she doesn't have a lot of options. So that was number 1. Number 2, I'm going to talk about this document. I'll try to read it. I'll try to keep it quick, but I am going to make my comments. And then I'll talk about what a reasonable person might do in this situation. Okay, so the title of this document is the European Commission and World Health Organization launch landmark digital health initiative to strengthen global health security. Okay, so let me tell you something that you're going to see in this document is they're going to say health, health, health a million times over. If this were a legitimate health response, let's say, they wouldn't have to say health so much. It would be obvious to them and to you, and they wouldn't have to pound it in to the conversation. So in this short document of 815 words, which according to them is going to require 3 minutes of reading, they're going to repeat health and security, health and security, health and security, health and security. Why? Because they want you to think that. So I've made a few comments, as you've already seen on the website. You can obviously see the original. You can still see the original, even though I've made some, in my opinion, corrections to it. This has nothing to do with health security. This has nothing to do with you being healthy. This is all about the social credit system, central bank digital currency, control of cash flow, control of food. They want to create these, I think they call them innovative or integrative. I think it's innovative. I think it's innovative food hub is what they're calling it, where they have centralized control over the food. And of course, they want to control travel. See, travel, they've demonized travel because travel means using gasoline and fuel and usually air travel or some type of mechanized travel. So they've demonized the hell out of that with all this climate change stuff. The whole climate change conversation has now been completely weaponized. So no one can have a rational conversation about climate change anymore. Because now it's integrally connected with this Plandemic stuff. You saw that recent clip by Bill Gates where he says that we're going to have more and more of this. We're going to have more and more viruses and pandemics, he says, because of climate change. So now they took, I showed you this the other day, they took the pandemic and now they're taking climate change and they're mixing them together. They're putting a third hand in there, which I showed you previously, which is national security. So between pandemic and medicine and public health, which everyone's going to agree with because it sounds good. It sounds like they're trying to take care of you. They're not. And then over here, you've got climate change. Oh, they're trying to take care of you. They're trying to save the planet. They're not. And then over here, the third hand coming from the bottom is national security. That sounds good to you. It's not. So I'm going to just read it word for word as best I can in my hyperstimulated state right now. World Health Organization and European Commission have announced today the launch of a landmark digital health partnership. So let's just say, I'm going to see how many times they say health. So in the title of the document, they've already said health twice. Landmark Digital Health Initiative to strengthen global health security. So they want you to think health, health, health. Look, if I'm writing a nutrition article on vitamin D or nutrition or exercise or autoimmune disease or migraine headaches or fibromyalgia, I don't need to keep saying health all the time. You get it. That's the topic. So they've already said it in the title, between the title and the first line, they've now said it 3 times. In June 2023, that's right now, World Health Organization will take up the European Union system of digital COVID certification. So remember, we've all agreed, we have universal agreement that this was a total failure. Everything they did didn't work. Everything they did was wrong. But within this small echo chamber, they're going to keep hammering this thing. So what they're saying here is that they're going to continue what they've already done, even though we have pretty much universal agreement that it didn't work. They've called for amnesty. They've said everything was a lie. They've said we need forgiveness. They said, we need to move beyond this. That's because it was all fraud. But now they're saying, oh, well, we're going to use that fraud and keep going forward. In June 2023, right now, this week, the World Health Organization will take up the European Union system of digital COVID-19 certification to establish a global system that will help facilitate global mobility. I don't need my mobility facilitated. I do not need my mobility facilitated by the World Health Organization. They're not facilitating crap. They'll facilitate you as long as you've had every vaccine on their list, assuming that you survive that process, then you can travel a little bit. To help facilitate global mobility and protect citizens, I don't need your protection across the world from ongoing and future health threats. So that's the 4th time they've said health, including pandemics. Here's the other thing I want to tell you from our friends in Spain that I'm just now remembering. I wasn't actually in on the conversation, so I'm getting this secondhand, but I still think it's accurate. It's at least accurate to the perception of the people who are reporting it to us. That doesn't mean it's totally correct. I don't care. Nothing's correct anymore. But here's what she told us. She told us that in Spain, they're telling the public that the hospitals are overloaded, that people have to have vaccine passports. I already said that. And that they've merged, or maybe it happened spontaneously, a merger between COVID and one of the hemorrhagic viruses, maybe Marburg or something like that. But what they're telling, or at least what she's hearing, and what she's telling us is that the public report is that the 2 viruses have now merged, and it's a COVID with a hemorrhagic cough. Because ever since her kid got vaccinated for COVID, he's had a chronic cough, and so he's suspicious. And that's why they won't let him in school. They won't let him in the libraries because this kid has a cough from the vaccine. And now they're apparently publicizing the fear that it's a merger between 2 viruses like has never occurred before in the natural world. I mean, I've never heard of 2 viruses merging. And maybe that was, a explanation or whatever. I mean, viruses and bacteria can exchange some genetic material, but you don't see it happen like this. Like, you don't get a respiratory virus that becomes a hemorrhagic virus. So this is big league bullshit somewhere. And I don't think it's simply a misunderstanding on her part. This is the first building block of the World Health Organization Global Digital Health. So that's the 5th time they said health in 3 sentences. Certification Network. And they even have an acronym for it, which is GDHCN, that will develop a wide range. See, this is just the start. But you better be shitting yourself. If this is the start, then this is a disaster. They will develop a wide range of digital projects to deliver better health for all. So now we've said health 6 times. And we're not even introducing the topic yet. Building on the European Union's highly successful digital certification network, World Health Organization aims to offer all World Health Organization member states, which is most of the Western world, access to an open source digital health tool. So now 7 times they've said health, which is based on principles. Here comes a big load of bullshit, which is based on the principles of equity, innovation, transparency, and data protection and privacy. Those words are bullshit. I'll repeat them again. Equity, innovation, transparency, data protection, and privacy. Well, how about logic and reason and legitimate science? No, they're going to call this whatever the hell they want. And that's according to the head of the World Health Organization. World Health Organization, sorry. New digital health, so I think now we're eight times saying the same word. New digital health products in development aim to help people everywhere. So this is global. This is not you're okay where you are. You're not okay. Aim to help people everywhere receive quality health services. Does that make it 9? Quickly and more effectively. That's mass vaccination and nothing more. They don't care about your health. They do not care about your health. Based on the EU Global Health Strategy, so now it's 10 times, I think, and World Health Organization Global Strategy on Digital Health, so I think now we're 11 times. I have to keep track with a piece of paper. No, there we go. Now we're 11 times. The initiative follows the 30 November 2022 agreement between the European Union and the World Health Organization to enhance strategic cooperation on global health issues. That's 12 times they've said the same word. Look, if this were health, it would be obvious to you. You're not stupid. If you're an adult, you're not stupid. You don't need for them to say health 12 times in 2 paragraphs. Just say what it is without all the bullshit. This further bolsters a robust multilateral system. So this is going to start in Europe and then it's going to ping pong and interconnect all over the world with the World Health Organization at its core, powered by a strong European Union. European Union is not strong. It just happens to be a strong base for them. This partnership is an important step for the digital action plan of the European Union Global Health Strategy, 13. By using European best practices, we contribute to digital health standards, 14, and interoperability globally. So this is global. This is not you're okay in Texas. You're not okay in Florida. You're not okay in wherever the hell you are. You're not okay. This is about to be global. To the benefit of those most in need. So what that means, here's my interpretation of that. The United States is still free, so I can say what I want, supposedly. When they say benefit of those most in need, yeah, it's like poor people, like our friends in Europe, who just received a free cell phone so they can be digitally tracked. That's part of giving what they call benefit to those most in need, right? Oh, you're poor? We'll give you a phone so we can track you. Well, how about giving them a job, a place to live, healthy food, infrastructure, something to aspire to? People don't need a phone so they can be tracked. But that's where this is going. So the health priority of this organization has nothing to do with health. It's about tracking you. But that also, so that's the micro picture. Now let's go to the macro picture. The macro picture of that statement is they're talking about targeting poor countries like South America, because those countries are intertwined in so much debt through the World Bank and all these big groups. Those Latin American countries can't even move because they're trapped in a straitjacket of debt. And it's because of situations like this where they get trapped into debt. And how do you pay off your debt? Well, you can enslave 20% of your population to this agenda and we'll give you credits. You can sell, and this is what happened in Colombia. The United States government, through these so-called trade agreements, they're not agreements, But the United States government forced Colombia to give up its own food source and rely on Monsanto corn as the source of their own food for their own population. Here's the other thing that the United States does, especially in Colombia. Again, I just happen to be familiar with Colombian politics. You know, they do this thing called the war on drugs, right? Well, part of the war on drugs is they implement the war on drugs in the territories that actually have commercial value. So let's say you've got two regions that are growing cocaine or cannabis or whatever. You've got two regions that are growing drugs that the United States wants to target. They'll attack the area that actually has some financial value out of those two. So let's say that this is a mountainous region, but it's too far away. And let's say this is a mountainous region, but it's near a dam or it's near a city or something with more commercial value. They'll attack that so that then the land is so poisoned that it becomes worthless and the people have to sell and leave their farms. And then American venture capitalists can come in and buy that land and then restore it, so to speak, and then use it for commercial either food crops or flowers that are then sold to the American market. So the war on drugs is another bullshit program that eventually becomes the government-facilitated transfer of wealth and resources to private interests. If you want the details on that, actually it was a news release. I thought it was a different document, but now I'm remembering. Those are a couple different ideas kind of interconnected. I'll try to put those videos either within this video or on the same page. Some of those ideas come from a documentary called America's Backyard. So America's Backyard was a series of short but very excellent documentaries. And one of them was specific to Colombia. And that's where they talk about poisoning the land. So farmers have to leave their land, and then American interests can come in and buy that land cheap because now the original citizens had to leave the land, and now they can extract the resources from that land, whatever those resources would be. Okay, going back to this. It is also a powerful example of how alignment between the European Union and the World Health Organization could deliver better health for all. So now they've said health 15 times, and I'm only on the third paragraph. In the European Union and across the world, as the directing and coordinating authority on international health work, so now we're at 16, there is no better partner than the World Health Organization to advance the work we started at the European Union and further develop global digital health, 17, solutions. And that's a direct quote from this person, Commissioner for Health and Food Safety. Okay, well, I'm going to put health again and safety. I don't need your safety. Believe me, I don't need your safety. I would rather live off of raw milk and vegetables grown out of my own garden than rely on their safety. This partnership will include close collaboration in the development, management, and implementation of the World Health Organization global system, which is the Global Digital Health Certification Network. So that's another time. So now we're at 20. Benefiting from the European Commission's ample technical expertise in the field. A first step is to ensure that the current European Union digital certificates continue to function effectively. Okay, so let me mention something else. I'm remembering now that I wanted to include this, so I might as well include it now, because I'm obviously doing this spontaneously. What you saw with the 2020 pandemic is they deployed the virus, and then they followed that with the restrictions and the digital tracking systems. What you're going to see, and what you are seeing now, is they're still pushing the digital certification system and digital passports. What they're going to try to do, and what they are doing, is they're going to lock as many people as possible into that system so that then when they release the next pandemic, everyone's already in the system. Oh, you put something on social media, your bank account gets closed. Oh, now you can't buy food. That's the other thing I wanted to mention. So just yesterday, here in the United States, we went to buy some groceries. And we go to the checkout line, and there is no checkout line. It's all auto checkout, right? And we're paying. So we bought like 4 bags of groceries. It was $270, let's say $250, something like that. Well, they can sure as hell give us an employee to check out those groceries. I had to scan the damn stuff myself, and believe me, I got tired of that. But here's the deal. We're all being groomed into a cashless, self-service society where you go into a grocery store, you have to enter with a digital passport, and then you put your groceries in your cart with your digital scanning thing, and then you check yourself out, and it's automatically deducted from your bank account, right? That's where they're trying to push this. And we're already seeing that here in the United States. And I don't care what you think about that. You could say that's a conspiracy theory or whatever. All of the conspiracy theories have come true over the last 3 years. They're trying to push us into a cashless central bank global currency where if you mouth off on Twitter or LinkedIn or Facebook or send a message to your friend, then you get reductions in your social credit score. So I remember, it was a different phone, but when we were in Europe, this was November of 2021, I remember very clearly, I got a message on my iPhone in Europe saying that they were evaluating my trust score based on their analysis of the photos that were in my phone. And that was from Apple or whatever. But I'm very clear on all that. I'll see if I can provide either my phone. I did screenshot it, so I have it somewhere. But that's where all this shit's going. They're going to watch you and monitor you, your food, your location, your contacts, your purchases, or your lack of purchases. All that's going to be on your phone following you around. And you'll be buying your food from a innovative food hub run by the World Economic Forum. And that's where they're going with this. This partnership will include close collaboration with the same system I just mentioned, benefiting the European Commission's ample technical expertise in the field. A first step is to ensure that the current, I already read this, EU digital certificates continue to function effectively. With 80 countries and territories connected to the EU digital COVID-19 certificate, who gives a shit about COVID-19? They've already declared that it's either over or it was a fraud. So why are they still using it? The EU has set a global standard. I could also circle how many times I say global. The EU certificate not only has been an important tool in our fight against the pandemic, it hasn't done shit. What has it been used for other than to limit limit travel, which didn't do anything, enforce quarantine, which didn't do anything, force people to wear face masks, which didn't do anything, or receive the vaccine. This is the worst vaccine in the history of medicine. So they're justifying this digital surveillance system based on a strategy that already failed across the board, but has also facilitated international travel and tourism. It didn't facilitate a fucking thing. Oh my God, they just said facilitated international travel? No. No one traveled easier because of this. They closed down. Entire borders were shut down, and they're flipping this and saying, oh, well, we facilitated international travel and tourism. They collapsed international travel and tourism. Internal? Commissioner of the Internal Market? What the hell is internal market? I don't know. I am pleased that the World Health Organization will build on the privacy-preserving principles. Bullshit. Everybody had to declare their vaccine status to go into hospitals, buy a cup of coffee, get on a bus, go to the gym, travel. And they're calling it privacy preserving principles? That's bullshit. And cutting edge technology of the European Union certificate to create a global tool against future pandemics. It didn't do anything. And now they're saying that they saved you and they saved your travel. Last two sections. A global World Health Organization system building on EU legacy. Screw the EU anymore. One of the key elements in the European Union's work against the COVID-19 pandemic has been digital COVID-19 certificates to facilitate free movement within its borders. Free movement didn't exist. Europe was shut down. This is absurd. The European Union swiftly established interoperable COVID-19 certificates entitled EU Digital COVID-19 Certificate. Based on open source technologies and standards, it allowed also for the connection of non-EU countries that issue certificates according to their specifications, becoming the most widely used solution in the world, around the world. This is making me parched. Hold on a second. That's green tea. It usually doesn't make me talk any better. It's diluted, so hopefully it'll be okay. From the onset of the pandemic, the World Health Organization engaged with all World Health Organization regions. What the fuck does that mean? The World Health Organization is not a government. Therefore, the World Health Organization should not have regions. Regions are what countries have. Now they're claiming ownership of regions, defining these as WHO regions. So they're claiming territory. That's what they're doing. You can go ahead and call me a conspiracy theorist all day long if you want. All of the conspiracy theories have come true lately. And this is another one that's coming true right now. So you can deny it. You can say whatever the hell you want. This is what they're saying. And it could just be a matter of language. But that is what that's the language they're using. In their mind, this is from the World Health Organization website. In their mind, they own territory. They're not just here to give you guidelines on how to treat syphilis. They're not just here to, give some vitamin A to some starving kids in Africa. They're claiming territory. That's the language they're using. To define overall guidelines for such certificates. To help strengthen global health preparedness. So here we go again. So now we're at 21 times we've said health. Look, I don't even think I say health 21 times in my whole damn book. Because I don't need to continue justifying the fact that I'm talking about health and nutrition. They've said health 21 times in this document. It's because they're trying to hammer it in you. This is for your health. This is for your security. This is so you can travel. Oh man, we're safeguarding tourism. We are the saviors of the mom and pop restaurant down the street because we're safeguarding tourism. That's what they're trying to say here. That's total bullshit. They collapsed all those businesses. Where we lived in Europe, I bet half the businesses closed within the first 2 years of the pandemic, if not more. So we had one exceptionally good restaurant where we lived that had been there for hundreds of years. And if you know Europe, that's legit. Where we lived, we had a bridge that was a Roman bridge, so it had at least 2,000 years, and that was in the center of town, which is right where the restaurant was. The restaurant was right next to the Roman bridge. So, this city center where we used to live had 2,000 years of history, and it basically collapsed within 2 years of the pandemic. And now they're saying, oh, well, we saved tourism. No. They didn't save anything. Growing health threats, digital certification, health preparedness. Sorry, I lost where I was, but it's obviously somewhere in here. Oh yeah, to facilitate free movement within its borders, they did this. connection of non-EU countries around the world, from the onset of the pandemic, define overall guidelines for such certificates. Well, it's nothing more than a vaccine passport. It's not a health certificate. It's nothing. It's nothing. They're not measuring your height and weight and insulin resistance and your vitamin D status and your mental health and how many hours you slept last night and your heart rate variation. They're not looking at anything related to health. Are you maximally vaccinated? Yes or no? If so, you get to do what you want for a limited time. So, they, in the course of all this, they changed the definition of fully vaccinated. Now, fully vaccinated only lasts 3 to 4 months. And now you got to get another one. And maybe now it's 6 months. But for a period of time, fully vaccinated expired every 3 to 4 months when they were really pushing the vaccine. Okay. WHO is establishing a global digital health certification network. So we're somewhere around 21 times that they've said this before my last freak out, which builds upon the solid foundations of their framework. Their bullshit, self-defined, self-pleasing framework. Principles and open technologies. If it were open technology, then anybody could hack their way into it and make their own certificate. So what the hell does open technology mean? It doesn't mean it's open to you or me. So why use it in this context then? With this collaboration, World Health Organization will facilitate this process globally under its own structure with the aim to allow the world to benefit from the convergence of digital health certificates. Exactly what I said. Doesn't matter where you live. Canada, Mexico, South America, Brazil, United States, UK, Ireland, Scotland, England, Scandinavian countries. They're pushing this globally. So this is a cascade event. It's happening. It's already starting to fall. It's going to fall on your head and my head at some point. So we got to talk about, preparation and things like that. With this collaboration, they already said that. I already said that. This includes standard setting and validation of digital signatures to prevent fraud. So once they implement this, there will be no escape. That's what they want. They want no escape routes. You can't, print your own piece of paper and say you got it. It's all going to be super secure within their system because now they're claiming that they own the planet. In doing so, World Health Organization will not have access to any underlying personal data. That's bullshit. I mean, how the hell would they do a certificate program without having your name attached to it? That's just stupid. Which would continue to be the exclusive domain of government. That's just bullshit. It's just bullshit. The first building block of the global World Health Organization system becomes, listen to this, this system becomes operational in June of 2023. That's right now. And aims to be progressively developed in the coming months. I told you this was going to happen. I told you this last week that we're going to have another pandemic. So it's cart before the horse and horse before the cart. So they started out with the virus scare. That pushed the first stage of vaccine passports. Now they're pushing it again, but without they don't even need a virus to push the vaccine passport system. So let me say that again. They started with the virus, and then they pushed the certificate system based on the virus. Now they're pushing the certificate system without a virus. Even they admit that there's no virus pandemic right now. So then why do we need to do this? So virus was the justification for the passports, but apparently now the passport system is self-justifying. And so they're going to try to enroll as many people as possible into this. And then when they release the next gain-of-function research virus, which they've said they're still doing, if you look at Anthony Fauci himself has said it's still happening. When they release the next virus, everyone will already be in the system. Boom, misinformation. Boom, you didn't wear face masks while you're having sex with your partner. You were talking in your kitchen. You put something on, you sent a message to your friend. You talked with the wrong neighbor. You went to the wrong store. You're out of your 15-minute limit. You posted something on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and now your account gets canceled. You lost 20 social credit points. You can't buy gasoline. You can't buy groceries or whatever, or your account gets frozen. You either know that that's what they're pushing or you're trying to resist it, but that's what they're trying to, that's where this is going. In so doing, the World Health Organization will not have, oh, I already said that. They don't have access to your personal data. That's bullshit. This whole thing is based on each person's identity and digital, so digit, that means thumb or fingerprint. They've got your fingerprints. If you've got a phone that recognizes fingerprints, they've already got your data. And now they're saying, oh, we don't want your person. We're not going to connect your name to it. Bullshit. This whole thing is anchored to a person. Becomes operational in June 2023. That's right now. Aims to be progressively developed. Okay, last section. A long-term digital partnership to deliver better health for all. So now we've said health roughly 22 times. This isn't going to deliver better health for anybody. Better health is not, it has nothing to do with this vaccine, and that's what they're pushing. This is just absurd. I mean, this is totally outrageous. To facilitate, so I got 3 sections left. To facilitate the uptake of the digital passport by World Health Organization and contribute to its operation and further development, World Health Organization and European Commission have agreed to partner in digital health. So now we've said it 23 times. This partnership will work to technically develop the World Health Organization system with a staged approach. Staged, yeah, that's no mistake. Talk about a stage. All the world's a stage, and we are merely players. This is staged. To cover additional use cases, which may include, for example, just maybe, which may include, for example, this is just an example, the digitization of the International Certificate of Vaccine or Prophylaxis. I'm going to say that again. The International Certificate of Vaccination or Prophylaxis. Expanding such digital solutions, oh, they're so nice. They want to give you a solution. Will be essential to deliver better health for citizens across the globe. Is that 24 or 25 now? I'm going to call it 25. Because they also call themselves the World Health Organization. They've said that a million times. So that would be another, 20 times that they've included the word health, I should say. It has nothing to do with health. This has nothing to do with health. They don't give a damn about your health. If they did, they would have done what El Salvador did, and they would have said, you need to eat right, get exercise, get vitamin D, and I don't know if they did or didn't include ivermectin. But El Salvador is a country to watch. They are the only country that did anything legitimate to promote health in this whole pandemic. They have a great president, Nayib Bukele, who is an exemplar for resisting this bullshit and for cleaning up his own country. Go look it up. Go look up El Salvador in the news. You're going to see 2 things. If you look up El Salvador, you could look at the old stuff when it was violent and it was run by gangs. Don't look at that. It doesn't matter anymore. If you look at the new news on El Salvador, you're going to see two classes of information. You're going to see everything he's doing right, and that has earned him a 96% approval rating from his own citizens. Or you're going to see the attack pieces coming out of Europe, for example. If you look at the German news coverage of El Salvador, they're calling him a dictator. They're saying he's got to get out of there. Of course, because he's resisting the bullshit. And it's no coincidence that the attack journalism, at least that I've seen, is coming from Germany, because who's funding the World Health Organization? Germany. So this is a mess. Staged approach. Yeah, it's a staged approach, all right. Last paragraph. This cooperation is based on the shared values and principles of transparency and openness. Bullshit. Those words don't mean anything. Look at their use of language. Remember, you have to look at my work in its context. I mean, look, I can talk about nutrition and functional medicine and naturopathic medicine and chiropractic and osteopathic medicine. I can talk about this stuff all day. None of that matters if you're a slave to this global system. None of health and nutrition doesn't matter if we all have to live like effing slaves to exist. But look at the language. Look at the rhetoric. This cooperation. Do you want cooperation in your life? Of course you do. So they're going to use language that you're going to like. Cooperation based on the shared values and principles of transparency and openness, inclusiveness, accountability, data protection, privacy, free sex. I mean, they might as well say free sex. They've said all the other buzzwords in here. This cooperation is based on shared values and principles of transparency and openness, inclusiveness, accountability, data protection, privacy, security, scalability at a global level, and equity. I mean, they just gave themselves 12 orgasms in one sentence. The World Health Organization and the European Commission will work together to encourage maximum global uptake and participation. Maximum global uptake? You're not volunteering for this. You are not volunteering for this. But they are going to encourage and work together for maximum global uptake and participation. Particular attention will be paid to equitable opportunities for the participation by those most in need. They don't give a damn about those people most in need. They're trying to turn every human being into a profit center. Low and middle income countries, that goes back to what I said before. They're going to target the poor countries because poor countries are poor because they can't develop themselves because they're trapped into these globalist platforms. You want to see a good example of that? You want to see a good example of that? And this is going to blow through the bullshit that most of you have accepted. But I'll tell you, I've been wanting to talk about this anyway, so here it comes. I'll give you a perfect example of a rich country that has been destroyed by this type of bullshit, this globalist bullshit. And you're all going to say, well, they're socialists. 90% of you, especially in the United States, where everything for the public is called socialism, and then you're taught to hate socialism. So you're basically taught to hate your own public sphere. So when they want to attack a rich country, or a country that has rich in resources, like Iran, Iraq, most Latin American countries that are rich in resources, even richer than the United States per square mile or square hectare or whatever you want to call it. What's the richest country in the world right now? Arguably, it's Venezuela, right? Venezuela has been completely destroyed over the past 15 years. Why is Venezuela the richest country in the world? Because they have more oil than any country in the world. They have more oil than the United States. They have more oil than the Middle East. They have more oil than Saudi Arabia. So it's been a controlled demolition of the Venezuelan country. The entire country is destroyed. And they put in a little puppet, and then Americans are taught to hate that guy because he's a quote unquote socialist. He's not a fucking socialist. Socialism means prioritizing the needs of the society. And in America, that phrase is demonized based on a misunderstanding of Marx, based on a misunderstanding of capitalism, based on a misunderstanding of communism. But it's all a game. It's all, and it is a game. It's all a word game so that you end up hating something you don't even understand. And in the case of Venezuela, they've got this dictator in there, Maduro, after Chavez. And the country is being destroyed internally by internal forces and external forces, supposedly because he's a socialist. He's not a socialist. He's a dictator. Here's the other thing, and you can look at Professor Wolf's videos on this because he explains it reasonably well. And as far as I know, he's the only person who explains it. Socialism, the term socialism, is misused by people who call themselves socialists when they want to be dictators. So if you look at Hitler, Hitler called himself a socialist. That's so people would buy his bullshit so he could be a dictator, right? If you look at Maduro, he's not a socialist. He calls himself a socialist so people will give him enough wiggle room to maintain power, and then he destroyed the country. If you look at, I think China, don't they call themselves like a socialist republic, People's Republic of China? Yeah, well, socialism is somewhere in there. It's not socialism. Socialism is a term that dictators use so the population will accept them. That doesn't make it socialist. And for anyone to think, oh, well, that's a representation of socialism, that's just totally stupid. You're buying into their bullshit. But the worst thing, that's probably the worst because that's obviously the most direct. But the other part that's also bad is when, and obviously this happens in the United States, Americans are taught to hate socialism based on a misunderstanding of socialism. And Venezuela is an example. I mean, I see comments against Venezuela all the time. You think the people in Venezuela want to be under that dictator? He's destroyed the country. Venezuela is arguably one of the rich, especially for the size of it. It's a relatively small country. It's about the size of Colombia. It's about the size of Texas. It's about the size of Spain. And they have more oil than any country on the planet. So why are they so poor that they don't even have food in the grocery stores? So, like I said, you got to look at these globalist organizations and how they control and trap countries into these systems, and they can't get out of them. And this is another power grab. This is going to make free trade agreements and peace accords and international harmonization. This is going to make all that stuff look like bread and butter, like puffs of smoke. This is going to control all countries who engage in this or who engage with this. So read it for yourself. I mean, this is directly from their website. I mean, I can't even believe one of the things they said that really bugged me. Convergence. So I underlined and scratched out some of the things that I put on the website. You can take a look at it. Better health for citizens across the globe. Oh, well, they say it right here. For the entire document, they've called this, pandemic preparation and whatever else. At the bottom, they finally say what it is. Digitization of the international certificate of vaccination. That's it. This is a vaccine passport. That's it. They're going to encourage maximum global uptake of this. And that means you. So if you're in the United States or if you're an American, you better vote for someone who's going to stop this. You've got two options right now. You've got Kennedy and you've got DeSantis. Trump is the one who pushed this so fast, he called it warp speed. Probably because the only thing he's given attention to in his whole life is, Star Trek. So he called it warp speed. This is going to be like science fiction, man. We're going to do this like Star Trek. He gave $14 billion to the vaccine preparation thing. Not a single word about exercise, diet, nutrition, NAC, vitamin A, zinc, selenium, lipoic acid, anything that they could have done differently. Ivermectin, anything. No single word at a government level. Obviously, Trump did mention hydroxychloroquine. He may have mentioned ivermectin, I'm not sure. But did he distribute? So, people have to shut up sometimes. Did Trump mention hydroxychloroquine? He talks about, using bleach. So, I mean, it comes out of his mouth, but that doesn't mean he knows what he's talking about. Where did he put his money where his mouth was? $14 billion to the vaccines. How much money did he give to the rapid distribution using the military for ivermectin, vitamin D, zinc, selenium? So just because Trump said hydroxychloroquine and bleach, and maybe he said ivermectin, I don't know, where did he put the money? He put the money in the vaccines. So don't tell me that Trump is some protector of American freedom. He's not. He paved the way for this vaccine social credit system. So there it is. You can read it for yourself. And I'll do another video maybe later today or over the weekend. And I'll talk about what are you going to do about this? What are you going to do about it? I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do about it. I already know what I'm doing about it. But my plans are easy. Like, I can bounce. But you better do whatever you want. Don't do anything if you don't want to. Put their passport on your phone. Go buy your digital groceries. And you can eat worms and crickets and 3D printed meat if that's what you want to do. You don't have to do anything. If you don't want to live that way, then you gotta do some prep. And if you don't already have, some flexibility and mobility, then you're gonna be in a situation where you may have wished you had some mobility. So we'll talk about that in the next video. It's somewhat straightforward. I've already talked about some of it. So go look at my previous post where I talk about, having international bank accounts and being able to transfer money and things like that. I mean, you could at least get that set up. Because if you need to bounce to a different country, whatever that would be, whether it's in or out of the United States, in or out of Europe, in or out of Latin America, in or out of Asia, whatever, Scandinavia, if you need to bounce, you're going to need money in a different currency. So you could or should set up a bank account that gives you that type of flex, because in the moment you need that flex, you need to have the flex, you need the card in your hand, and you need to be mobile. So go look at my previous post on that. I'll link it below the video. But don't do anything. If you don't want to do anything, go eat popcorn and go to a baseball game. If you want to prep, then you got to start prepping. So now we're at a time where the writing's on the wall. If you're in Europe, this is about to get shoved down your throat. It's already getting shoved down your throat. So I would not go to Europe right now, period. Okay, I'll get more information up over the weekend. Hope you're all doing great. Take care. I'm working on some updates to the book. We're going to talk about migraine, chronic pain, neuroinflammation, fibromyalgia, dysbiosis, mitochondrial dysfunction, immune balance, and nutrition, just like we always do. But those are the things I'm working on as I'm observing the collapse of the Western world. So take care, everybody, and I'll get this on the website as soon as possible, and I'm not going to make any edits.